Hi, I'm Maguire-Eisen. I'm a dermatology nurse and the founder of the Children's Melanoma Prevention Foundation. I started this foundation a number of years ago because when I was working as a nurse, I found that there were a lot of children that were having a problem related to the sun. That was sunburn. Have you ever had a sunburn? I surely have. I've had the type of sunburns that have even kept me up at night. The thing that concerns me today, though, is the fact that there are many wonderful things to prevent sunburn, but despite that, half of all kids develop a sunburn every year in the United States. We created the SunAWARE program to teach kids 5 easy action steps that they can do to have fun outside, and to be safe from the sun. So today we're going to talk about 4 different things. I think that it's important for you to know the things that affect UV radiation. You need to understand about your own personal skin sensitivity. My skin is sensitive to the sun. We're going to talk about different types of skin. I want you to know how to properly protect yourself from the sun. We're also going to talk about changes on our skin that are related to the sun, be it sunburn, suntan, freckles, and moles. So let's get started. The first thing we want to talk about is UV radiation. You can see from this illustration that there are 3 different types of UV radiation. It's what you learn in kindergarten. It's the A, B, and C's. But first off, when you look at this illustration, see the ozone layer? The ozone layer is a very thin little layer around our planet, but it serves a very important purpose. It blocks UV radiation from getting to our planet. And it does that in varying degrees, and we're going to talk about how it works. I like to think of the ozone layer as our planetary sunscreen. So let's now talk about the first type of UV radiation. That's UVA. UVA stands for aging or tanning. And you can see that these rays are really long. They completely penetrate the ozone layer. They penetrate windows, and they even penetrate our skin. In the base of our skin, we have these little cells called melanocytes that produce pigment. Those cells are genetically programmed to create a certain amount in our skin, but they also have the ability that if they see too much UVA radiation, they can pump out more melanin, which floats to the top of our skin and makes our skin turn brown. That's a tan, and that's why they're called the tanning rays. So many people think that a tan is a great thing, but actually it's a sign that we've seen too much UVA radiation. The second type of UV radiation is the B rays. B stands for burning, and you can see that 90% of the burning rays are blocked by the ozone layer. That's why the ozone is so incredibly important in terms of protecting us from getting a sunburn. The B rays you can also see are much shorter. The B rays just hit the top of our skin. If you see too much UVB radiation, your skin can turn pink, it can turn red, and it can even swell and blister. It's important for you, though, to know from the time that your skin begins to turn pink, it takes about 12 hours until your sunburn is in full bloom. So if your skin begins to turn pink, it's really important to seek shade, get out of the sun, and protect yourself. Third type of UV radiation is UVC. The good news about UVC, as you can see from the illustration, the ozone completely blocks it, and we don't need to worry about it. So let's talk about the things that can affect UV radiation intensity. You just learned about the 3 different types, but there are things also that can affect how strong they are in a given time. So, as you know, our star, the sun, rises in the east and it sets in the west. Our planet makes a rotation in that direction. It takes 24 hours for our planet to make one full rotation, creating day and night. It's important for you to know that UV intensity is strongest at 12 noon. It's true, temperature peaks at 3 p.m., but UV rays are strongest at noontime when the sun is directly over your head. And you're going to learn later why that's so important. So another really important thing to think about is, in terms of planetary movement, is revolution. So our planet takes 365 days to revolve around the sun. That creates the 4 seasons. And it's important for you to think about seasons in terms of UV intensity, because many people think that it's the summer when UV rays are the strongest. But in actuality, it's the first day of summer when UV intensity peaks. Because of that, it's actually easier to get a sunburn in May than it is in August, because on average, UV rays are higher in May than it is in August. So it's important to remember, spring, when it's cool where you live, might be a time where the UV intensity is really high. So think about that. Other things that affect UV intensity, where you are on a planet. So if you're back in the United States and you have the good opportunity to go skiing in the Rocky Mountains, altitude plays a really big role in terms of how much UV intensity you get. The higher you are, or the further you are away from sea level, the more UV intensity you get. Also, when you look at our planet is made up 70% of water. Keep in mind, we all love to be in the water, but water reflects UV intensity, so you can get UV radiation not only from the sun, but then bouncing off the water. Back to skiing in the Rockies, keep in mind that snow can reflect up to 80% of UV radiation. So if you're spring skiing, you can really get a lot of UV radiation when you're doing that. So there's some of the factors that affect UV intensity. But one of the things that I think is really important for you to do, and I encourage you to do, is that there's lots of really great apps and tools so that you can learn about the UV intensity in your community. The UV index is based on a scale from number 1 to a number 11 plus. Every day in the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency puts out a map of the United States where you have the opportunity to take a look at the region where you live and see how high the UV intensity is and what kind of precautions you might need to take. Sometimes when we're in the school in June, when UV intensity, I just told you, is quite high, sometimes UV intensity on this map, or the UV index, is actually higher in the north than it is in the south. So it's a great way for you to learn about UV intensity, UV index, and how it varies throughout the United States. Another thing that I really would like or encourage you to do, there are wonderful apps on your smartphone that you can download. This is one called the UV Index. It's free. You download it. It tells you what the UV intensity is a given moment in time, where you're located. So it works on your GPS. It also talks about the varying degrees of risk. So you can see on this, the risk related to UV intensity can be mild, moderate, high, very high, or extreme. It's important for you to think about what the risk level is, because the number of sun safety precautions you need to take to protect yourself from UV is related to how high the UV index is. Remember, the higher the UV intensity is, the easier it is for you to get a sunburn. So use these fun tools to protect yourself. So another really fun thing that we use in the classroom also is UV bracelets. So as you can see, this little bracelet has white UV beads in it, but when it's exposed to UV rays, as they are in this sun simulator, you can see the beads change colors. And this is a really fun way for you to realize that if the beads change color, so can you. These beads will start changing colors early in the morning and still continue to change until late in the day. It's a really great thing and a fun way to learn about UV intensity. Another thing that's a really low-tech tool that we like to use with the kids in the schools is the shadow rule. So as you know, when the sun comes up in the morning and it's down in the sky, your shadow is very long. As the sun comes up and goes over your head, your shadow becomes shorter. The shadow rule, as you can see in this illustration, shows that during the day, from early in the morning to midday, your shadow becomes smaller. So the rule is, if your shadow is smaller than you are, then you need to get out of the sun, seek shade, and practice sun protection. So now let's talk about skin sensitivity. I told you earlier, my skin is sensitive to the sun. In dermatology, we classify people into 5 different skin types or skin colors. It has to do with the amount of pigment that you have in your skin, as well as your skin's reaction to the tanning rays and the burning rays. So first I want to show you an illustration of a type 1 skin. So these are the kids who are very fair-skinned. They have light eyes. They can have even red hair. The picture that you see right now is a student who has strawberry blonde hair. But the thing about this is skin that always burns and never tans. So I just mentioned eyes, and let's talk about that for a second. We talked about melanocytes in our skin. They're the pigment-producing cells that give us skin the color. The same cells are present in our eyes. And if those cells make a lot of pigment, you have brown eyes. If they don't, you have lighter eyes, blue or green. The lighter your eyes, usually the more sun sensitive you are. So let's go on to type 2 skin. I'm type 2 skin, and you can see in this photograph that this student has a little bit more pigment in her skin. She's got darker hair, brownish hair. She has brown eyes also. So these are the kids that usually burn, but they can tan. Let's look at type 3 skin. So type 3 skin, you can see in this student that he's got more pigment in his skin and he's got brown hair. Now this is somebody who can tan and rarely burns. He's got a little bit more natural protection. Type 4 skin, as you can see in this illustration, is a student who has even more melanin in his skin, more natural protection. These are kids who rarely burn and they do tan. Type 5 skin, again, more pigment in their skin, darker complexion, more natural protection. These are kids who have a lot of natural inborn protection, usually deeply pigmented, and they rarely burn. So they're really fortunate in terms of their ability to stay outside. Not that anybody can go out without sun protection, but they just have some more natural protection. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is a really cool thing that we utilize in the classroom. It's called a UV video camera. And we have this technology that we can bring into the classroom, and it shows students 2 different things. One, it shows them if they've got pigmentary changes on their skin from the sun, and it can also show them if they've properly applied their sunscreen. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but take a look at this photograph. So you can see on the right, this student, her regular picture, that's what she looks like. The image on the left allows her and you to take a look and see that she has freckles in the middle of her face. And you probably realize that is the #1 place that we get our freckles, right smack in the middle of our face. I mentioned that earlier. The sun is strongest in the middle of the day. The reason that we get our freckles in the middle of our face is that those rays directly hit the middle of our face. So let's talk about freckles. Freckles are never going to hurt you. You can't feel them. They get lighter in the winter, they get darker in the summertime. But what freckles do help you realize is that if you have them, then you know you've had a lot of sun exposure, at least in that area. So wherever there's freckles, you want to give extra special attention. Another thing that we utilize in the classroom that we think is a great tool is our pencil. And it has a message on it. It says that moles should be smaller than an eraser head. So students receive a pencil, or you use your own pencil at home, and you can take that pencil and put it up over a mole. If you can still see some of the brown from that mole, you know that the mole is atypical, at least in terms of size. Moles should be smaller than an eraser head. So let's think about moles for a second. I told you about freckles, you can't feel them. Moles, usually we start to develop them when we're around 2 years of age. Only 1 out of 100 babies are born with a mole. We develop moles over our lifetime. We tend to get moles in places where we've had sunburn. But moles are the things that you can count. So take a look at your skin. See if you have a lot of moles. On average, we have 40 moles. If you've got more than that, then that's really important for you to, acknowledge and make sure that you're checking your moles. So moles, not only in size, but sometimes they can vary a little bit in terms of color and shape. If you begin to look at your moles, then you'll be able to recognize if there's any changes in them. A student who worked with our foundation wrote this book with his father. It's What Are These Spots on Your Skin? And he wrote the book to try to educate kids that we're not born with moles, that we develop them, over our lifetime, or at least until we're into our 20s or so. So he wanted kids to recognize that spots are on our skin and they can change. One of the things that he created in his book is a body map. And he encourages readers or students to take a look at their skin and then mark on the body map where their moles are. And you can even put an arrow to it if it's a little bit different in terms of size or color. So I think that this is a terrific way for us to begin to start taking a look at our skin and recognizing where we develop our moles and if they're changing at all. This book, as well as many other books that the Foundation have created, are available for free download. You can go to our website and you can learn more about where to download those books. I really encourage that you get them and start taking a look at your skin and mapping your moles. So now on to the really fun stuff. It's really important, we talked about it, to practice sun protection. And there are different things that you need to do to protect yourself from the sun. We just spoke about eyes and the importance of knowing if your eyes were light or dark in terms of sun sensitivity. But it's important to also remember that UV rays go through the center of our eye, the pupil. The pupil is a muscle. It expands and contracts. So UV rays can get in our inner eye. So it doesn't matter what color eye you have, we should all use eye protection. So sunglasses, it's recommended that we wear them every single day of the year, every day. And keep in mind that the sunglasses protect both the inner eye as well as the outer eye. So sunglasses are really a wonderful thing. And if you don't have them, I highly recommend that you get them. If you're shopping for sunglasses with your parents, or if your mother's going out to buy something for you, remind them to look for the label on the sunglasses that say that they block UV rays. That's really important to make sure before you purchase your sunglasses. Second thing that's really terrific is sun protection clothing. So there are lots of great ways that we can protect ourselves from the sun. So baseball cap is the number one way that men like to protect themselves from the sun. But when the sun is over our head, it's not protecting our ears, it's not protecting our lateral face or the sides of our face, and if you have short hair, it's not protecting the back. So although we like baseball caps, it's really important that we use a bigger cap. So this is a broader brim. We talk about bigger the brim, the more protection that you get. This hat was actually designed to go in the water with. It's made out of the same material as a swimsuit. Really terrific in terms of providing protection and giving you a nice brim. I'm going to show you the next hat, which students always love, and that is my cardboard hat. Keep it on your desk, keep your sun protection stuff. When it's time for recess, pop your hat on. When I show this to kids in school, they all talk about the fact that, but it has holes in it. And it's true, it does have holes in the cardboard, but a lot of summer hats or straw hats, for example, have, little vents so that we can get some air. But this is a fun hat just to illustrate, bigger the brim, the more protection. I showed you a picture of a child with type 4 skin. His family is from Vietnam and they gave me this hat. I think it's very interesting that people, kids with type 4 skin that, have good natural protection, choose to use the biggest brim of all. So this hat from Vietnam, you can see, shades you completely in the midday sun. And they do that because in their culture, they do not want their skin to get darker. So they really practice good sun protection. So get a hat, take it to school, make sure you're wearing it. Next thing that I cannot more highly recommend is a rash guard or a swim shirt. These shirts are designed to block all of the UV rays. This one blocks about 99% of the rays. What's really neat about it is if you're wearing something like this in the water, you don't need to worry about your back and your chest and running back out to put your sunscreen back on. So you get a lot of good protection with these shirts, and I highly recommend them. Something else is portable shade, and this too can be a cultural thing. So in some communities, we see lots of people that are carrying parasols or umbrellas. And the thing that I love to tell students is that both of those words mean sun protection, not rain protection. So these were originally designed to protect, especially ladies, in the 1800s from the sun. But nowadays, I am seeing these in parks, I'm seeing them on city streets, and I'm seeing them at sporting events. So sun protection is really important to employ many different things and to protect as much of your skin as possible. So now let's talk about the number one thing that people like to use to protect themselves from the sun, and that's sunscreen. So sunscreen comes in a number of different products. It comes in creams, sprays, sticks, as well as lip balms. But let's talk about first how to read a sunscreen label. If you look at this illustration, there are 4 different terms that I think are really important for you to know about in terms of evaluating if you've got a good sunscreen. The first is the SPF. SPF actually stands for sunburn protection factor. It lets you know how much of the burning rays you're being protected from. So an SPF of 30 is what we recommend. If you put on the sunscreen in the adequate amount, an SPF of 30 should block 97% of the UVB rays. Second thing on the label is a term called broad spectrum. Broad spectrum is really important, and it was only added to sunscreens a few years ago. Broad spectrum means that this product protects you against not only the burning rays, but also the tanning rays. Very important that you see that on your label. Going down a little bit lower on a label, there is a water-resistant claim. Water-resistant claims are either 40 minutes or 80 minutes. So if you like to spend a lot of time at the beach or in the water, then you need to look for a sunscreen that has an 80-minute claim. There's nothing more than that. So keep in mind, with even a water-resistant sunscreen, you need to get out of the water and reapply your sunscreen every 80 minutes. Fourth thing that I think is really important, and something that people often forget, is the expiration date. So most of the products have an expiration date on it, so you can just read it. And if it's expired, you shouldn't use it anymore. If your sunscreen tube does not have an expiration date, it means that the shelf life is 3 years. If you don't remember when you purchased it, how long you've had it, get rid of it and buy a new sunscreen. So let's talk about lotions. Women especially like to use lotions. Now, sunscreen is considered an over-the-counter medication like Tylenol. It has a dose and a frequency of application. So the dose of sunscreen for anybody is a handful. So if we wanted to figure that in terms of calculating for you, if you were my size, you would need 1 ounce application to cover all of my skin when I was wearing a bathing suit. If you were smaller, you would need to use a half an ounce of sunscreen. So you would need to fill this cup to cover all of your skin. You also need to reapply that sunscreen every 2 hours. That means a tube like this that has 7 ounces in it, that's only 7 doses of sunscreen for somebody my size. I'm putting it on every 2 hours. I'm going to go through this in a weekend, or my family is going to go through it possibly in a day. So lotions are great. Lots and lots of people like to use sunscreen sprays. I see some problems with the sprays. One is that it's really hard to calculate that handful. You're not going to be able to see that you're putting on the right amount. The other thing is that when you're spraying this sunscreen onto your skin, if you're outside, oftentimes the wind will blow the sunscreen away and you don't even get the product on your skin. The third thing is that sometimes we inhale the sunscreen. If you look, people will spray it and there's a mist around them and you can inhale the sunscreen into your lungs. So if you do use a spray, put it into your hands to apply it on your skin and make sure that you hold your breath. One of the products that I really love is a sunscreen stick. And the reason I love the sunscreen stick is that you can put it all over your face, you can put it around your eyes, and if you sweat, the sunscreen doesn't run into your eyes. Really great product if you like to do sports. The other thing for us to remember is that our lips are skin, and it's really important to think about protecting them, especially if you're on the water or if you're up skiing and you learned about the amount of UV rays you get while you're skiing. So get a lip balm that has some SPF in it. Use it. You might even need to use it more frequently than every 2 hours. So sunscreen is a really wonderful thing to do, only if you use it properly. Lots of people get sunburns when they use sunscreen because they don't think about using enough and they don't think about reapplying it. So you now know how to use it properly, and I hope you will. So I told you before about our UV video camera that we bring into the classroom. Well, I'm going to let you take a look at this student applying her sunscreen. And as you can see, the sunscreen that she's applying on her skin looks like a black oil slick. And that's because there's 2 different types of sunscreen. One's called mineral, the other's called chemical. Chemical sunscreens actually absorb the UV rays, so they look black on the skin. This also shows you that sunscreen clearly creates a barrier between your skin and the sun. The third thing that it helps a student recognize is the fact that we often miss spots when we apply our sunscreen. So you can check it out, how she applies her sunscreen, but if you're doing it in the classroom, you can get to see if you've missed it around your eyes or your ears or under your nose. So great technology that we're able to bring into the classroom as well as the community to share with people about proper sunscreen application. So we have the SunAWARE acronym, which is 5 easy action steps how to protect yourself. We've put together a fun way for you to remember it. So check this out. Hit it.
Yo, Natasha.
Hey, David.
How you doing, girl?
I'm doing real good. How you doing?
Doing great. You know why?
Why?
Because it's beautiful outside. Let's go hang out.
Hold up.
What?
First, we gotta make sure that we're playing it safe.
Because everybody knows that the sun don't play.
It's important to know and to educate about the power of the sun and its beautiful rays.
We got 2 words to help you prepare. Yo, everybody, let's get SunAWARE. A, avoid. Avoid it when you can. Cover up, seek shade, never indoor tan, whether you know it or not. The sun gets hot between 10 and 4,
So don't get caught. W,
Where?
pay attention to your clothes. Do they cover you up from your head to your toes? If not, switch it up. It can be so easy. Sunglasses and a hat will keep you cool and breezy.
A, apply on the hour when you need it most. At least SPF 30, cause the sun's no joke.
Hold up. Make sure you reapply. If you do, you can kiss sunburns goodbye.
R, routinely examine your whole body. Notice something off, go ahead and tell somebody. Yeah, we got freckles, beauty marks, and moles. But if it looks strange, let your parents know.
E, educate yourself.
Yo, nothing's more important than your own good health. But don't be selfish, share the wealth. Teach your family and friends how to protect themselves.
Moral of the story, we're here to educate. Keep you safe, smiling each and every day.
So if you wanna make a difference, you gotta make a change. Rearrange what's important, there's no time like today.
Protect yourself and the ones you love. The sun can be tricky, but also lots and lots of fun.
Don't be scared, just be prepared. Tell them all around the world to be SunAWARE.
Tell them all around the world to be
So you might not like homework, but I have homework for you. On our website, we have lots of fun things for you to take a look at. We have an info flyer that talks to you about the AWARE steps and tells you how you can put those AWARE steps in action. We also have really fun books that are electronically available for you to free download. So I highly recommend that your teacher take a look at our website and recommend some of the things for you. There's even homework available on our website if she wants to have you take something home and actually bring it back in. So I hope that you learned some things today. I hope that you will go home and teach your family, and I want to thank you that I really appreciate your attention today, and I hope that you have a great time outdoors enjoying the sun safely. Be safe, be SunAWARE.